Hello and welcome everyone. I hope you have seen some videos that I have uploaded for TestNG, and now it is time to discuss some interview questions. So let's start with the first question. The first question is, what is the difference between at the rate before test and before method annotation? I hope that you remember the annotations that we have studied. So these were the two annotations that we have used. So now let's see the usage and see what is the difference between these. So we have one class A which is extending parent and which has three test methods 1, 2 and 3. You can see at the rate test annotation before every test method. So if we see here in the XML we have one test. Remember this is a test and test methods are here in this class. So in this test, which is test 1, we have class A included, and this class A is having three test methods. And this is my parent where I have defined these two annotations before method and before test. And you can see the relation here, it is inheriting. So now when we run this TestNG file with TestNG, and you can see the response here. So first of all, it executes before test. So you can see here before test is executed only once and before method is executed before every test method. So this is the difference between before test and before method, that before test get executed according to this TestNG XML. Doesn't matter how many methods it includes and how many classes it covers, but a test may have one or multiple test methods, and before every test method, before method would get executed. So if you also want to see the relation of after test and after method, so we can also add these two methods down here. So just copy and paste and rename them to after test and after method. Alright, so we have updated them. We have updated the message that we were printing on console, and we have also updated the annotation name. Now when we are running it, you will see that before test is executed once and at the beginning of the test, and after test is executed at the end of the test. And in between we have three test methods, and before every test method we have before method, and after every test method we have after method. So this is the order of execution. I hope this is now clear to you, and if we look at the second question, which is very common and very important from TestNG point of view, how do we pass string or integer values from TestNG file to our test cases? Here, interviewer is actually asking about parameters. So you need to know how we pass parameters to our test cases. So let us have a look at the case where we will be passing our parameters from this TestNG file to our test cases. So the format here that we need to use is, we need to use a tag named as parameter, and you need to pass two values. One is name and the other is value. So the name of parameter would go here in the name tag, or you can say the name attribute, and value would be the value of that attribute. So now you have defined this parameter here for this test suite because it is part of test suite. You can see it here. This parameter is not inside the test, but it is inside the test suite. Now if we come here in the parent, we do not need to mention anything. But if we come here in the test class, let's say B. So this is my test method and I want to pass this parameter to this test method. So I also need to use one more annotation here. You can say above the at the rate test annotation, and you can use at the rate parameters, and in brackets you need to provide a string of the name of parameter. Along with that, it is also important to pass this parameter as a argument of this method. So you need to use, if it is a string argument, you need to use string, or if it is other data type, you can pass it like that also. So now this argument is available to the method and you can use it anyhow. So I am printing on console the argument that I was passing through TestNG XML. So let us run this and see whether our argument is passing from this TestNG file to that test case. So the name that I have used is Kamal. Let's see if it is printing in my test case. So it says my name is, which is a static text, and Kamal is a variable which is coming from this file. So that is how we can pass arguments. I hope this is now clear, and if it is not clear, please rewind the video and see again. Let us now move on to the third question, which is a very tricky question. So the question is that let's say we have 100 test cases for one application. Now we want to run these 100 test cases on different browsers, Firefox, Chrome and Internet Explorer in one run, and we want to see a single report for them. We do not want to trigger them again and again. We want that we do some configuration in TestNG XML file, due to which this 3 test cases run on 3 different browsers. So 100, 100, 100, that means 300 test cases should run. And the output should come in one report only. So let's see what we can do for this. So first of all, let's see what we have in the project. So here in a.java we have one class where we have 3 test cases for the time being. Let's say similarly we could have 100 or 200 test cases. We'll try it for 3 only so that we can see in the report also. The parent one is empty. There is no test method defined there. And in this TestNG XML we have one test which includes class A. That means this test is having 3 test methods. Let us copy this and make 3 different tests here in this TestNG XML. And for every test, pass a parameter. Now this time we are not passing a parameter at suit level, rather we are giving a parameter to each test. And let's say the parameter is browser. So the first test is having browser parameter and its value is Firefox. For the second test, the same parameter is having value as Chrome. Let us make another copy, and for the third one we'll say that the parameter value would be IE. Alright, so now we have these 3 parameters for 3 different tests, and these 3 tests are having 3 different test methods. So for one test we would be having this parameter, so it is important that we pass this parameter to test method also. So for that we use @parameter annotation like we have already seen. So here we pass the value as browser, and for every test method we need to pass an argument which is coming from the parameters. So string browser, and let's say we print on console simply the browser name. Otherwise we could have simply written switch statements over here, that if the browser value is Firefox, then initialize Firefox browser, otherwise initialize according to the value. So that's how our test cases would run on different browsers. Same thing we need to do for all these test methods. If we have 100 like these methods, it would be same for those. Right, so now we are done with the configuration. We have 3 test methods. We are passing parameters at test level, and in the test class we have passed the parameters. Let us run these test cases. So we should have 9 test cases. We have 9 test cases, 3 for Firefox, 3 for Chrome and 3 for IE. You can see the same test cases ran 3 times on different browsers. So the same thing we can repeat for 100 test cases also. I hope this is now clear. If you have any question, I would again say that please rewind the video and see the solution again. So the next question is, let's say out of 100 test cases we have, let's say we have 100 test cases for one application, and we want to run one test case, a particular test case 10 times, or let's say n number of times. How can we do that? Do we need to copy and paste that test case as many times, or is there any other way which we can directly do and run a test case n number of times. Yes, with @test annotation, we have an option to run that many instances of a test case. So if you go here, let's say this time I'm running class B, I'm including that in TestNG XML, and I want to run this test case 10 times. So for that, I'll just pass in brackets, or you can say invocation count. Invocation count equals 10. So now if I run it through TestNG XML, this test case will run 10 times. I hope this is now clear that how can we run a test case n number of times. Let's now see a problem statement which is more about the execution flow. So what would be the order of execution for all the methods as per this below TestNG XML? So if you have a look at this diagram, so we have a class parent which has all the annotations before suit, after suit, before test, after test, before class, after class, and before method and after method. And we have two classes, class A and class B. Class A has three test cases, T1, T2 and T3. And class B has one test method, T4, and one normal method. Normal method means it does not have any @test annotation. So if you see here, this is the parent class. Here we have all these annotations, and this is the TestNG XML that we had there. So in the test one, we have two classes, class A and class B. So let's see what is the output when we run it using TestNG. So if we expand the console, here you will see on the top, the first step is before suite. So you have seen that in the parent we have included all the annotations. So that's why we have before suite and after suite in the very beginning and in the very end. So you can compare with the XML also. This is the thing which is the outer layer of this XML. That's why it is executing before the suite starts and at the end as a teardown. So if you see inside, we have a test. So after before suit, we have before test, and inside the test we have different classes. So before the classes are executed, we will execute before test, and once these classes are executed, it will execute after test. And inside this, if we see, we have two classes. So before start of one class, it will run before class, and then it will execute all the methods T1, T2, T3, and before every method it will execute before method, and after every method it will execute after method. So T1, T2, T3 are executed here as a part of this class, and then once this class is over, it will execute after class for class A. Then again it will repeat the same thing for test class B. So before loading this class, it will execute before class, then all the test methods, and before method it will execute before method and then after method. And since this is the only method which is having @test annotation, so therefore the normal method is not getting executed, and then it will execute after class for class B, and then we have after test and after suit. So that is how the flow is for this particular XML. If you have any confusion in this execution flow, feel free to rewind and see how we have actually written the test cases and how according to this XML these methods are running. So the next question is also very much similar to this. We have done some minor tweaks. So if you see here, what would change if before suit and after suit annotations are also written in class B? So we have before suit present in the parent class, and we have before suit and after suit present in class A also. Let's say with a different method name, but these two annotations are used twice. So first of all, let us copy these annotations here in the class as well, class A. So we'll go to parent, we'll copy these two methods, and we can paste it here in class A or B, whatever. Okay, for the time being I'm copying it in test class B, let's say. and I am giving a different name to the methods, bs2 and as2. Okay, so here if we see, when we run this with the TestNG XML file, what should be the order of execution, because we have two before suits and two before methods, two before suits and two after suits. So you can see here in the output that both the test suits, both the before suits and both the after suits have run. So that means it executed for the parent as well and it executed for the child as well. So let us give a different comment on the methods that we have written in class B to see which one is running first and which one is running after. So you can see that the outer one is for the parent and the inner one is for the child class. I hope this is clear, and if there is any confusion, feel free to ask questions in the comment section. And do not forget to subscribe to our channel if you want to see more such videos. Let us move on to the next question, question number 7, which is what would change if before suit and after suit annotations are moved to class B? Now we are saying that we do not have a copy here in the parent class, but we have moved these annotations from this parent to the child. Okay, so we have only one copy of it. Now the point would be, when we would be running class A, so class A was inheriting all the methods from parent. Now parent is not having before suit and after suit. So what would be the impact for class A? So we are running class A and class B. So you can see here in the execution, again before suit was executed initially, and then all the methods got executed for A as well as class B, and then at the end it executed after suit. So we do not see any difference according to the first example that we have covered. But yes, if we do not import, or we can say if we do not include class B which is having that annotation, then definitely A is not going to have these two annotations because these are not imported at all. So we won't be seeing before suite and after suite here. I hope this is clear to you. If this is clear, then we can move on to the next question. Okay, so now in this question, again we have done some modifications in the XML part. Now we are not changing anything, let's say, in the structure, but we are changing the XML. So two classes that we were importing here, it is not B, it is A for one and B for, let's say, other. So we have two classes, but we have created two different blocks for these two classes. So let us make these changes and see whether what would be the output of it and whether this is the right syntax or not. So I'm copying the inside block here and I'm giving, let's say, class A and class B here as a reference. Doesn't matter if you give a different class name also, it gives you error that syntactically this is not acceptable, and if you try to run it, it will give you an exception saying that the content of this particular XML is not valid. So that means we can have only one block of classes inside one test here, and in those classes we can have multiple class tags. Having multiple classes block is not allowed here according to the syntax. If this is clear to you, then it is good time to move ahead and go to question number 9. But if this is not clear to you, I will again suggest you to go back and see all these questions because it is important to understand the flow. So let us have a look at the question number 9, according to which we have, okay, so question number 9 says we have three cases where one case, test case is, you can say test method is to register a user, second one is to log in, and third one is to delete a user. Now we want to execute all these three in one specific order and we cannot use priorities. So what is the way of doing this? So first of all, I go to class A and I rename these three methods so that I can distinguish. First one I'll say that is register, second one is login, third one is delete, and I want this, when I run this through TestNG, these should execute only in this order. So I have updated the method names as well as the comments because this is the thing that will display on console. Now for running it in one order, we'll use depends on So depends on have two variation. One is depends on group or depends on method. So right now it is giving me error because I have not used particular one. I can use depends on method. So test 2, which is for login, depends on test method register. I need to give the name of method here. And then test 3, which is delete, it depends on login. So I have linked here the test case 2 with test 1, test case 3 with test 2. And before running, I'm removing all these annotations from parent class. So I do not have any annotations now. Now if we run, we can see the order is first it executes register, then login, and then delete. Okay, so this was a bit simple. Let us move on to the next one, which is what are hard and soft assertions in TestNG and how do they differ. So hard assertions, when we apply hard assertion, and let's say we have 10 cases. So if let's say fifth test case fail and we have a hard assertion there, so it won't continue to rest of the 5 test cases. But when we put soft assertion, so it will mark that particular test case as fail and show in the report, and it will continue with the remaining test cases. So that is the different type of assertions that we can put here. If you want to see more details, you can watch our other video for assertions, and if you have any other question, feel free to write to me in the comment section, and do not forget to subscribe to this channel because I'll be bringing a lot of such content for your interviews. Thank you for watching this video. My name is Kamal Girdhar and you were watching Extreme Automation.